Life is a highway. It's full of twists, turns, and complex issues to try and navigate. Welcome to Retire the Right Way with Anthony Wright of Retirement Specialty Group. Each week, you'll hear us discuss the pitfalls and common investing mistakes we see people make. We'll also educate you about the financial world and encourage you to think about solutions to some of the problems and question marks you might face in your own financial life. So let's get on the right road to retirement with Anthony Wright here on Retire the Right Way.
Hello and welcome to Retire the Right Way. Thanks for tuning into the show this week. Mark Killian here with Anthony Wright from Retirement Specialty Group, here to talk about the worlds of finance and retirement as we do each and every week. We got a good show lined up as always, so stick around for some good content and good analogies and things to think about as you're moving into retirement. Anthony and his team at Retirement Specialty Group service the Knoxville, Chattanooga, Crossville, Sparta areas and all points in between. Give Anthony a call at 888-557-1993, 888-557-1993. Get yourself on the appointment calendar for a no-cost, no-obligation consultation to talk about your situation and make sure you're going the right direction in retirement, headed the right way, if you will, pun intended. 888-557-1993. Anthony, let's talk a little bit about retirement and flying. We're going to make a correlation here between taking a trip. I know that you've been dabbling in the airline stuff. You and the lovely wife have been doing some pilot's license, right?
Yeah, I've been having fun at it too.
Yeah, so I thought we would use that and kind of bring it in. And by the way, welcome in. I forgot to say hi.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. It's always good to be on here in the air with you, man. We've been doing it a long time.
Been doing it a long time. And since you talked about the air, we're going to go right into the air of flying in retirement. So what can air travel teach us? Now, I want you to dive into the extensive knowledge that you've learned in your few pilot's license classes that you've taken and see if you can make a nice correlation in flying and retirement. So we'll start off with the basics, right? So I'm sure that one of the first things that you learned as you're taking these lessons is you got to have a flight plan, right?
Wow, absolutely. I mean, that's number one. You gotta have a flight plan. You got to know what you're going to do before you ever get off the ground.
Right. So give us a breakdown of how that might look with retirement planning.
Well, I mean, like suppose you're flying from L.A. to London, and then depending on the weather, you might fly across the United States, possibly over the Atlantic Ocean, or if the conditions are different, then, you might fly north over the North Pole and then turn and go south over to London. But here's the thing. I mean, it's not a decision that's being made after takeoff. Weather patterns are studied and flight plans are laid out well in advance before your actual flight. So, before you ever leave ground, you know where you're going to go and you know the route that you're going to take. Now, occasionally when you're up in the air, yes, weather might move in, and on your GPS system, you kind of want to make some changes on the fly, so to speak. No pun intended. But en route, you might want to make some changes. But that's really no different with your retirement, honestly, Mark. I mean, you shouldn't retire and then say, well, I guess I should figure out what I'm going to do with, all my free time and determine how I'm going to get income coming in off my investments. And all that stuff needs to be planned out before you ever, so to speak, leave the ground. It's really too late when people come in. I just had this happen a couple of weeks ago. They come into the office and they had moved here from Florida. They had a bad investment advisor down there that had got them in some bad investments. And instead of doing a plan and working that plan as you're talking about here and as I'm talking about here, designing that flight plan before you ever leave the ground. Well, they didn't design any kind of plan. They just went to him, we're going to retire, and here's $750,000. What can you do with it? So there was no plan put into place. There was nothing other than here it is. This is in our 401k. What are we going to do? So they move up here and they come to me and they hand me this statement, and I'm looking at their statement and I'm in shock. I truly am in shock. They went from $750,000 down to $9,824.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my word. I was like, do you guys not have a plan? I mean, is there no plan of action? Or, I mean, how'd this happen? And his wife looked at me and she said, we had no plan. She said, all we did was we went in and we said, here's our 401k statements. We're going to be retiring. Can you roll it over? You know, what can we do? And he said, yeah, we can roll it from a 401k over to an IRA. So he did, and he made some very bad investments. And now that $750 is worth $9,800. Too late at that point for me to get involved and help. There's not much I can do at that stage of the game because I'm not a miracle worker. I mean, there's only one miracle worker that ever walked on earth, and we know who that was, and that sure isn't me. So by that point, there's not much I can do. So for the people that are listening today, you know, we design, and as Mark told you, my wife and I are just about halfway into our pilot license. So by no means am I an experienced pilot. I'm still trying to get my private pilot license. But I have a couple clients that are pilots and have been for years and many years. And everybody, including our teacher, will always tell you the first thing you want to do is get a plan before you ever get off the ground. Yep. You want to know where you're going and you want to map it out. So if you're listening today, you need a plan. Mark, I even wrote a book called Financial GPS, and I wrote that book because nobody has a GPS when it comes to their finances or retirement. Nobody ever sits down and works that plan and develops that plan. So not only did I write the book, but then we sat down and we put together a proprietary product called a Financial GPS. And what does it do? It tells you where you're going to go. It tells you the route that you're going to take. It tells you the bad weather that's ahead. It tells you what degrees you need to go this way and you need to go that way. And this is what your risk factor is. And this is what your safety factor is. And it tells you, here's what fees you've been paying. Here's the fees that if you make the switch, we can save you X amount of money. It talks about Social Security. It talks about when to turn on Social Security. It is a very in-depth plan of where you're going and where you need to be. And that is something proprietary to Retirement Specialty Group. That is something that nobody else makes available, and nobody does that anymore. So you're listening today, Mark. I've talked long enough. I'll toss it back over to you, and I'll let you tell them how to get in touch with us to get that plan.
You got it. Well, we're talking about retirement and flying, making these analogies, and it's a great way to start is you need a flight plan. You need to know where you're going, as Anthony said, before you take off on the plane, whether you're the pilot or whether you're traveling someplace. You want to make sure you know where you're going. Well, the financial GPS from Anthony Wright that he just described can certainly help you get there financially as well. And Anthony, I'll give you a couple of statistics real quick that I came across here while we're talking. Right now, according to bankingrates.com, about half of Americans have saved less than $10,000 for their retirement. Obviously, you see that quite often. So it's a pretty scary statistic when half the people have less than $10,000 put aside for retirement, and 1 in 3 have nothing at all. So you have got to make sure that you're self-funding your retirement. Now, you may be lucky enough to have a pension or something out there, but you want to make sure that you're working with a financial advisor who can help pull all the pieces together and get you a retirement plan in place that will work for your situation. And obviously, at some point, as the story he just described, at some point it becomes too late. So don't wait, don't procrastinate. Reach out to Anthony and get started right now. Get your GPS underway, and you can do so by calling 888-557-1993. That is 888-557-1993 to get started with your financial GPS from Anthony Wright, Retirement Specialty Group. 888-557-1993. Go ahead, call, get yourself on the calendar, come in for a consultation in Knoxville, Crossville, Chattanooga, Sparta, all points in between. 888-557-1993. You're listening to Retire the Right Way. We'll be back with more of our conversation about flying and retirement after this.
Lewis Carroll once said, "If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there." Now, while that may be true, wouldn't it be better to know where you are going and exactly how to get there? With a customized financial GPS from Retirement Specialty Group, you won't have to wonder if any road you take towards retirement will work, because you will know that you are getting there right on time. For your free financial GPS, call 888-557-1993. That's 888-557-1993 for your no-cost, no-obligation consultation.
Here's one for you. What did Tennessee? The same thing Arkansas. Wow, that was bad. Okay, let's get back to something good with more Retire the Right Way.
You're back here with us on Retire the Right Way. Thanks for staying tuned in to the program today. Mark Killian, your host, alongside with my co-host, Anthony Wright from Retirement Specialty Group. Anthony and I here on the radio waves today talking about the worlds of finance and retirement. And Anthony, of course, is from Retirement Specialty Group. He's also an aspiring pilot. And today's analogy, or at least so far on the show, is retirement and flying. So we're going to continue on with our conversation there. But if you'd like to have a specific conversation with Anthony about your retirement situation, give him a call, 888-557-1993. Leave your information. You're going to get the voicemail. Go ahead and leave your information. The team will get right back with you ASAP, as Anthony and I are on the air, obviously. So go ahead and call, get yourself on the calendar, and they'll help you out in whatever way you need to be helped. 888-557-1993 is the number to call to make that happen. 888-557-1993. Turbulence, Anthony. It affects many people in many different ways. And, you know, if you've ever been on a flight, I'm pretty sure that most of us has been on a flight somewhere where it got a little rocky. And we get a little nervous, right? We clench up a little bit. But obviously turbulence can bother people in the financial world as well. So let's discuss that a little bit and make that correlation between flying turbulence and our financial turbulence.
This is one area that honestly pilots, and again, I'm not experienced. I'm in the process. I'm in the middle of getting there.
You're learning.
To get my pilot license.
Well, let me clarify. You're learning the pilot's part, not the financial part. You got many, many years of experience in that.
That's exactly right. But I will tell you this. Turbulence does not bother pilots. Pilots are trained to handle wind, turbulence, the type of weather conditions that come. The more I put my butt in the seat and the more I fly the plane, the less turbulence bothers me. Now, the reason is because they are the only ones on that plane sitting in that cockpit that's got a plan, right?
Right.
We talked about that the first segment. Before that airplane ever lifts and takes off, that pilot has got a plan. They have sat down, they've mapped it out, they know where they're going to go, they know what the weather's going to do, they know how they're going to get there. Well, you and I as passengers, what's our plan? Just to get to the next destination, right?
Yep. Hang on tight.
Yeah, I mean our plan is hang on tight.
Yep.
Because we get to the airport and then we walk on the plane and our plan is just to arrive safely at the destination we're going to. So we go in there and all of a sudden, we encounter turbulence or, please turn your seatbelts on. It's going to be a little bumpy kind of thing. And it bothers us. Now, I have occasionally seen people that it doesn't bother at all. They'll just sit there and they'll put their earplugs in and they'll just sleep right through it. But other people don't like it. And sometimes, my mother flew with me one time and she got real queasy at her stomach. I mean, some people it really, really, really bothers. But again, this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to say that you rarely know when turbulence is going to come, even though you've got a good plan and you know the weather. But when it does come, because of that plan, you don't find pilots panicking and choking. So same thing with market volatility. There's no way we can say today that we know what the market's going to do. If we did, we'd have more money than Forrest Gump, right?
Right.
So there's no way that you can sit there and say, okay, this is what's going to happen. Now, what we can do is you may not know when the market's going to crash and you may not know when it's coming, but if you're paying close attention at all, you know when it's happening. For instance, if you look at a 20-year history right now of the stock market, we were due for a major crash about 2 years ago. So every day people wake up and watch the news, it's just a day that you're closer to turning on the TV and something crazy has happened in the world and the market's tanked. I mean, that's how close we are. It
Right.
is literally sitting on a teeter-totter. And if you look at that chart, because that's what we financial advisors do, is we follow charts and we follow history, because history repeats itself. So that's why when we sit down and we put that financial GPS together and we build that plan, it's important that you know how you feel about market volatility so that you're prepared to deal with it and not make any rash decisions when you're right in the middle of it. I can't tell you, Mark, how many people in 2008, 2009, and this seems to be kind of the way that we Americans operate. The market's on fire. You know what we do? Stay in it.
Yeah.
Stay in it. We got to make as much as we can because we're greedy.
Yeah, we're in the same boat as it was in 2008 and in 2001, 2001, right?
That's
we're
right.
in the same spot again.
You know, and we're sitting there, eke out another dollar, just squeak out another.
But Anthony, it's doing so good.
It's on fire. I got to make that 16, 18% return.
Yeah.
And then when it crashes and your 401k becomes a 201k, then everybody panics and runs and sells.
Right. And we do the exact opposite thing, right?
Buy low, sell high.
Exactly.
Everybody buys high and sells low.
Yeah.
I mean, that's typically what we see. So what I would say is turbulence is going to happen. As a pilot, we know that, but we're trained for it. So pilots are trained for it. You're flying along and you hit turbulence. No big deal. They hit the seatbelt button and you put your seatbelt on. Same thing if you're operating in your retirement as a plan and you're going along by that plan and all of a sudden the market tanks, you're not going to break sweat because we got a plan in place. We know what your risk analysis is. We know if you're too much at risk or not enough at risk, or we know what's going to happen and what's going to take place by that plan. So that financial GPS is something that is a must, that you need to navigate yourself through these tough times, as in we don't know when the market's we don't know when that bubble's going to bust. We know it's going to bust. We just don't know when. Is it North Korea? We don't know. I mean, every day you're turning TVs on now, seeing crazy stuff happen. People are just shooting people, and I mean, it's nuts what's going on, right?
Yeah, it's been.
So you don't know when something's going to happen that you're going to turn the TV on, and boom, it's too late. You didn't get out. Now we're in what's called a bear market, and the bear is running rapid, and it's just taking people's profits. So I say this. I say pick up the phone, give me a call, and let's sit down, let's get a plan together so that we know if we reach turbulence, we're not going to panic. We're just going to fasten our seatbelt. We're going to ride it out because we got a plan, and we know where we're going. So if you're listening today, how do you do that? So you pick up the phone, you call me, 888-557-1993. If that don't work for you, maybe you're kind of text happy, then just text RSG to 555-888. Send me an email, info@retirementspecialtygroup.com. But once again, most people like to call, so get a pen, paper, and write the number down. It's complimentary, costs you nothing but 45 minutes of your time. Just come in, sit down, talk with me, and that's 888-557-1993. So 888-557-1993. Pick up the phone call, come in, sit down, talk to me. We'll work on a GPS for you. It doesn't cost you anything. It's complimentary. We'll build out that GPS, and then if the market crashes, you don't have to worry about it. All you got to do is just cinch your seatbelt up just a little bit there, and we ride out the market. But we'll set you up so that you're safe and protected, and you don't lose all of your profits and all of your gain. How's that, Mark?
That's pretty darn good. And, it's all about balance, folks, and that's what the financial GPS can help you do. You want to make sure that you're properly balanced so that you, depending on your time horizon, so that you are safe and protected with, a good chunk of your nest egg, depending on where you're at in your time horizon. But also you want to be able to continue to keep up with inflation. And all these things the GPS can help you with, and they can evaluate. As Anthony said earlier, it goes through the Social Security, it goes through taxes, fees, so on and so forth. Lots of pieces to the financial GPS, and you can get that in place by calling 888-557-1993, so turbulence won't affect you as much as it could. Look, 56% of Americans lose sleep at night over their retirement plan, their retirement savings, so on and so forth. So go ahead and call and get yourself down the right path and get yourself free of turbulence, or at least reduce that risk a little bit with the turbulence by talking to Anthony Wright at Retirement Specialty Group, and get yourself that financial GPS. 888-557-1993. We'll be back with more after this. Stick around.
What is the one thing more precious than gold, cannot be bought or sold, and that we all wish to have more of? Did you guess time? If so, that's correct. Time, and it is fleeting. So let's not let time stand in our way. Pick up the phone and call Anthony Wright at Retirement Specialty Group today and make sure your retirement plans will be ready and waiting right on time. Call 888-557-1993. That's 888-557-1993. Did you know that if you're heading out to your favorite fishing hole, you'll need to leave the lasso at home? And yes, I said lasso, because it's illegal to catch a fish with a lasso in the volunteer state. So grab the rod, the reel, and your best lures and go fishing the right way. More to come here on Retire the Right Way.
You're back here with us on Retire the Right Way. Mark Killian and Anthony Wright having a good time and a good conversation here today on the show. We certainly appreciate you sticking around. If you missed the first half of the show, we were discussing traveling by airline, if you will, or a plane. We're talking about financial retirement and a flight plan, if you will, and had a good conversation. Anthony is learning how to become a pilot, but he's been a financial advisor for many years, so if you'd like to reach out to him there and discuss either one, you can certainly have a good conversation, but a better use of your time would certainly be to talk about your financial situation. 888-557-1993 is your number to call. We're going to move on from that, Anthony, and talk a little bit more about the stock market. Since we kind of finished up a little bit on that with the last section, I kind of want to stick here right now because it's obviously a hot button issue. It's obviously, and it always is, right? The market's always a big deal, but what's been going on for the last 7, 8, 9 years is the second longest run ever, right? So there's a lot of people who tend to kind of get pulled into a false sense of security a little bit. I mean, you talked about that in the prior segment. We see these numbers. We see, doesn't matter, seems like hurricanes, earthquakes, Rocket Man, as you mentioned earlier. Nothing seems to really derail it very much. We've had, for the most part, it's been a pretty much straight shot up. There's been a few times over the last couple of years where it's dipped a little bit, but it's been climbing pretty heavily. And I think people really have to be smart. I really like how you said earlier in the prior segment, no one knows when a downturn's going to happen, but every day is one day closer to when it could. Are you properly weighted so that you will be okay? Can you afford a 2008 or 2001? Because we're flirting with that, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I think even everybody listening today would agree it's inevitable. I mean, everybody knows it's coming. And here's the problem. If you're 40,
right,
45,
right,
and it happens, you've got time for it to come back. If you're 60, 65, 70, 75, I mean, I'm not being pessimistic here and saying...
No, it's a reality. Yeah.
It's just a reality. I mean, what's Murphy's Law? When do you need the money? When the market tanks. When are you going to retire? When the market tanks.
Right.
You know, and you retire one day, and 2 weeks later the market tanks. And when does your I can't retire?
Yeah, when does your AC go out? Right, the hottest day of the year. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. When does your AC go out? Not during the winter.
Right. It goes out when it's 102. You know, so
yeah, when
same
it's 102
kind of concept.
And the humidity's 110, and your AC goes out.
Exactly.
You know, when does your heat go out? In the winter,
right,
when you need, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's inevitable, and people are, you know, they ask all the time, you know, when do you think the next market crash is coming? So, look, I can't sit here and tell you when. I'm not even going to pretend to tell you when. There's no way that I know when. But if you're worried about a market crash, does it make sense to just continue to stay in the market? I mean, does it make sense to just continue to sit there and go, yeah, wow, boy, it's on fire. I'm just going to stay in it, and I'm just going to... Well, I don't really have a problem with that per se, and I don't really have a problem if you want to keep some in there.
I was going to say to a percentage, yeah.
Yeah, but good grief. I mean, let's don't keep 100% at risk. I mean,
or even 60.
Or even 60.
Yeah, I mean, if you're 70 years old, you mean at best, at most, you're talking 30%.
30, yeah. And that's on a good day, right?
Right.
You know, at the most you'd want risk would be 30.
Well,
take 70% of your profits off the table and let's protect them so that, as you said earlier, when turbulence hits, we're not freaking out and panicking, right?
Right, exactly.
You see so many people that are just, you know, they're high risk or they're just sitting on cash. They're afraid, you know, what I'm going to do.
Well, Anthony,
and what I would say is I would say don't feel like you've got to be extreme one way or the other.
Right.
You know, don't feel like, well, I'm just sitting on cash. I'm scared out of my wits. What's going to happen? Well, again, Mark, like you and I were talking, before the plane ever leaves the ground, that pilot knows his plan. He knows where he's going. He knows what altitude he's going to go, and he knows the direction he's going to go.
Yeah.
So as long as you know going into it, and you kind of mentioned it a minute ago, as long as you know going into it, I'm 70 years old, 70% of my assets are safe. 30% are at risk.
Let me throw some numbers out there for people to kind of solidify that, Anthony, because you do talk about that a lot, and it's a great point. So if you were to lose, let's call it 35%. Let's say you're 65, okay? So if you were to lose 35% in a correction, you would have to recover 61% to gain that back. Does that make sense?
Ooh, that's good.
Right? You basically have to double, right? So in order to get that back, so if you're 65 and it was, let's just say a correction happened, tomorrow or next week or whatever, and at 35% down, you would need to go over 5 years, you'd have to pull back about 60% just to get back to the position that you were in before. So that's when we say the time horizon becomes shorter. That's the kind of numbers that you're talking about. So when Anthony says if you're 40 or 45, you have time to recover, because you do. But at 65, you only got, let's say, 5 years to try to recover, right? So that you have to basically double up in order to get that back. Hopefully that helps solidify. Does that make sense, Anthony?
Oh man, that's awesome numbers. I mean, you're spot on. And at 70 years old, do you have enough? Do you have enough time on your side to gain back 61%?
Yeah.
That's good.
That's the whole point,
good.
right? So that's why we keep talking about the market right now. And the reason I wanted to bring it back up is because it is on fire, and people do get lulled into that sense of security, false sense of security, I think. And as Anthony said, look, we're all greedy, and there's nothing wrong with that. You want to do the best for yourself and your family that you can do, but you got to be smart. And maybe it's wise to think about pulling some off the table and making sure that you're at least properly weighted and allocated for the point that you're at in life, for the time horizon that you're on. And I think that's why the GPS is so helpful, because when you sit down, Anthony, and you guys have that conversation, you'll be able to go through it, look at all the pieces and go, okay, here's where you're at. It's not bad, but here's what we need to do to make you a little bit properly better weighted, correct?
Well, yeah. I mean, nothing wrong with the upside of the market.
Right, sure, yeah.
Well, that's what we're all in it for.
Right.
All right. But let's protect ourselves so that there's no downside loss.
Right. Exactly.
So let's gain the upside. But if it turns and goes south, let's lock in so we don't lose anything on the downside. All right, so people are listening today, and they say, well, that sounds too good to be true. Well, no, it's just you don't have the knowledge. I mean, I've been doing it 10 years. I do this stuff in my sleep. So that's the reason you go see a professional. I mean, if you're sitting there going, well, that sounds too good to be true if I'm short of breath and I can't tie my shoes when I bend over, and I need to go see the doc, and the doc goes, oh, well, you got a blockage. So let's get you all the upside potential here. Let's clean that blockage out, and you'll live another 15, 20 years with no downside risk. If you didn't know that, you'd go, well, how's that possible? That sounds too good to be true.
Right.
So that's the same way with the investment world, right? It's just because I don't know why people are so afraid to come in and sit down and talk, Mark. I really don't. But usually when they come in and they sit down and talk, and we do get a lot of calls every weekend from our show here, and I don't know why when people come in, it's like, boy, I wish I would have done this a long time ago. So I'm not sure why. It's not like pulling a tooth, folks.
It's fear of the unknown. Right? Yeah. Fear of the unknown. So we're always afraid of things until we actually do it, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's just let's sit down, let's have a conversation, let's figure out where you're wanting to go and how you want to get there. If you're too much at risk, maybe you have too much in cash. Well, if you've got too much in cash sitting in the bank, I was at an event 2 weekends ago. The people listening know that about 20, I don't know what it's been now, 23, 24 years ago, I lost a son, Adam, and he died. And so every year at the cemetery he's buried, we go and we have what's called decoration and dinner on the ground. And so all the family, everybody's got loved ones buried there. We eat and all this. Well, we had a business meeting, and in the process of the business meeting, they bring up that there's X amount of dollars just sitting over here in a CD. And this CD is going to mature in October. And the renewal rate is 0.35%. 0.35%.
I was pausing for effect as well.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? Why would you put cash in something earning 0.35%? Give me a break. I mean, come on. That's not even keeping up with inflation. By the time you pay taxes on the 0.35%, you're going in the hole.
Yeah.
So, it might be possible that you're listening today and you have too much cash over on the sidelines and you're earning 0.35% on your cash. So we need to turn that around and we need to get that boosted up. And I mean, I'm talking stuff that's 100% insured. It's 100% guaranteed. There's no risk of losing your principal. And the fixed rate on some of that is 3 times or 4 times. Right now we're getting some fixed rates at 3.25, 3.45 fixed. So instead of getting 0.35, we could be getting 3.25 or 3.45. So these are the reasons that you need to come in. You need to sit down and talk with me because you got too much at risk. You don't want to lose it when the market tanks. You got too much cash over on the sideline earning 0.0 nothing. So you want to get that where you're earning a pretty decent rate. So look, pick up the phone, call me, 888-557-1993. Again, that's 888-557-1993. Only cost you about 45 minutes to an hour of your time. Come in, sit down with me. I'll ask you a few questions. We'll sit down, put a good financial GPS together for you, and we'll make sure that as you go through this turbulence, so to speak, with the market being all-time highs, if it does turn and tank on us, you're not going to lose all of your hard-earned money. So you can't beat that, Mark.
888-557-1993. That is the number to call to get yourself on the calendar. 888-557-1993. Or you can text RSG to 555-888. That is RSG to 555-888. You're listening to Retire the Right Way. More to come after this. Stay around.
I have a plan. You've got a plan.
Do you have a plan to address inflation in future decades as the cost of everything continues to rise?
I have part of a plan.
What about long-term care? Do you have a plan for how you'll pay for assisted living or nursing home care if you need it? To get help with these questions and much more, call Anthony Wright today at 888-557-1993 for your free financial GPS and make sure you're on that right road to a successful retirement. That's 888-557-1993.
It's time for a Tennessee tidbit.
Do you know what corn mash is? Well, if you do, I bet you also know some of its other names, like moonshine, white lightning, and mule. I bet that has a kick. Yep, corn mash is homemade whiskey, and it's still used as an ingredient today, sometimes in one of Tennessee's top exports from Old Gentleman Jack.
You're back here with us on Retire the Right Way. Mark Killian and Anthony Wright, your co-host today on the show, as always, having a conversation about financial planning and retirement. And, of course, that's what Anthony does at Retirement Specialty Group. He is the big dog over there. Been doing this for about a decade or so now, right, Anthony? You're getting close to there, right?
Oh, yeah, right at it.
Yep. Well, speaking of decades, let's talk about the final decade. And before we get too morbid, I don't mean the final decade of our life. I mean the final decade of working. That's what we're going to discuss here on this section of the show. And if you'd like to discuss your financial plan with Anthony, well, it's 888-557-1993. That's the number to call to make it happen. If you're riding along in the road today after church or before church or whatever the case might be, or just going down to Lowe's or whatever, grab a pencil, pen, paper, eyeliner, crayon, soy sauce on your finger, whatever you can write with, and write down 888-557-1993 and get yourself on the calendar. Stop procrastinating and come in and sit down. As Anthony said the last section, it's just people get scared to, maybe make that call or take that action, and there's really nothing to be scared of. You just call, you get an appointment, you come in, you sit down, you have a conversation, maybe a cookie, cup of coffee, and you just talk about your specific situation. Anthony will do a lot of listening, ask some questions, and help get you on the right road towards retirement with the financial GPS. 888-557-1993. So the final decade of working, Anthony, is very important for all of us, but obviously from a retirement planning perspective, it's really important. The last 10 years, you really want to make sure there's some things you check off, if you will. So we'll just discuss a few bullet points here. Obviously, deciding what's important, kind of similar to what we talked about with the flying analogy, but we'll just kind of give us some easy little bullet points we can think about when we're talking about what to decide on as we're moving in the last 10 years of our working life.
So, yeah, I mean, like you said, Mark, deciding what's important is, I mean, that's part of it. You want to answer questions like, what's more important, retiring early and possibly living on less, or working longer and having more extravagant lifestyle? Another bullet point would be, I guess, first of all, I should probably say this. Making a decision to retire early and possibly living on less or working longer and having that extravagant life, it's a personal choice, right? I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. So as we start down this path, I don't want people listening to be like, oh, no,
Right.
I said live an extravagant lifestyle.
Right.
Well, no, it's just a personal choice, right? And then once you determine your answers to these different questions like this, then you can make money decisions more easily because you've clarified your values. I mean, going into it that I want to go ahead and retire now, even though I got to take a little less money. Well, we treat that scenario a little different than somebody that says, well, I want to hang in there and squeak out the most I can because I want to continue my extravagant lifestyle, right?
Right. So then in order to do that, you need to know the numbers, right? So what are some of the things to think about with our numbers?
Looking into the financial mirror, so to speak, isn't always a fun process. And I think sometimes that's why people procrastinate long enough. I mean, let's be honest. Nobody wants to sit down and go, well, what if I die in 5 years? That don't sound good.
No, not at all.
But sometimes it's not a fun process. But it is vital to know your numbers and to help you plan for retirement. Some of the things you need to know is like, how much are you going to plan on spending? Well, you got to realize now.
How much do you currently spend, right?
You've been accustomed to getting up at 6 in the morning to be at the office by 7, 8, or 9, whatever your schedule was, and then you're not getting home till 5, 6, 7 at night. Well, now all of a sudden you don't have that. So now are you going to go play cards with your friends? Are you going to go shopping? Are you going to travel? Are you going to go play golf? What are you going to do? Well, all that's going to have a cost involved, right? So you got to know what you're going to spend, and then you got to know how much do you have. And then, how much debt do you have?
Yeah.
And then again, you and I talked about this just a little bit earlier here in the segment, but nobody ever sits down and goes, well, I got X right now. Ooh, if the market has a 50% correction, I got Y.
Yeah, exactly. And it
So
takes,
nobody does that.
Z to get back there, yeah.
Yeah, that's why you want to come in and sit down with me, because that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, okay, fine, this is what you have now. That's great. You've done well. Boom, here it is in front of you. If we have a 50% correction, this is what you're going to have. And most always people go,
Right.
So, they don't really think about that.
No,
That's good. Knowing your numbers is a key, is a big thing.
Well, we're talking about the final 10 years working that we lead ourselves into retirement. So those final 10 years, things to think about. As Anthony said, ask yourself the question. First of all, do you want to retire early, maybe have a little less to live on, or work as long as you can, and then maybe have a little bit more for your lifestyle? Then know your numbers. How much do you spend currently? How much do you think you're going to spend, right? Because we all get thinking this train of thought that we're going to spend less in retirement, and that might be the case eventually. But in the first few years of retirement, you're actually going to spend more. I think it's 120% of what you actually spend now. You spend 120% more than you do in your working years leading up to it, because when you first hit retirement, you're trying to have fun, right? You're trying to do those things you want to do, travel, see the grandkids, whatever the case is. But then it starts to taper off. So know how much you're going to spend. Know how much you have and where you've got all these different, places of this money coming from, and the debt. Now, speaking of where the money's coming from, Anthony, we need to estimate these income streams, and that's part of what the financial GPS does. But there's a lot of different income streams to pull together, or at least there should be, in order to, get a good retirement plan. And give us some things to think about.
Yeah, it 100% is. And when you enter that phase of retirement, you kind of touched on it a little bit there, but in the industry, we call it go, 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 slow go, and then no go. So when you first retire, about the first 10 years, man, you are go, 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 go. And then you hit your 72 to 75 mark, and then you kind of slow go. You kind of slow down a little bit, and then you hit about 85, and you go, no go.
I'm tired.
Forget me going out to Arizona to see the kids. They can come here.
That's right. That's right.
So there's several different income streams to support that lifestyle. One is obviously Social Security. When do you turn it on? Do you turn it on at 62 and take a haircut, or do you wait to full retirement age, or maybe you wait to age 70? when do you turn that on? That's part of the plan. That's part of the GPS that we put together. What about your pension? Do you have a pension? We don't see pensions much anymore. Every now and then I'll get somebody come in with a pension, but we don't see pensions anymore. Pensions kind of went away, and now we see a lot of 401ks. But those 401ks can quickly become a 201k, folks, in a hurry, and they sink faster than they grow. So also, there's a lot of people I see that have annuities, and they have income plans, structured income plans using those annuities. Then I've seen some with rental income coming in from, I've seen people with 4 or 5 rental properties to 95 rental properties. I've seen it all over the board. So you got some rental income coming in. Possibly you want to go work part-time. Just talked to a gentleman the other day that went back to work part-time, got tired of being bored, retired, so just went down the road and grabbed a job and started working part-time. So I see that a lot. And then, how much are you going to need to take from these investments on a monthly basis? So maybe you get a little from Social Security, maybe you get a little from your IRA, maybe you get a little working part-time. So how much are we going to have to tap into these investments on this money that you've saved? So that's some of the income streams that we take a look at, but it all starts with, let's get you evenly balanced. Let's make sure you're not way heavy risk and you're going to lose a ton of money, but then let's make sure that you're evenly balanced and you're well balanced, your risk analysis versus your safe analysis. So that's kind of what I always try to do, is to help people understand this is where you're currently at risk-wise, and this is where we can take you.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. And these are all things to think about in those final 10 years as we wrap up our working years and head to retirement. We're getting a little tight on time, so we'll just do one more. Just give us a couple quick bullet points on the healthcare situation, Anthony. We have to get a little bit of a handle on that. Just a few, maybe 2-3 bullet points to things that really stick out to think about with healthcare as we're winding down our working years.
Well, you can't even turn TV on, Harley, without hearing about healthcare and Congress trying to appeal Obamacare and all that, right? So you're right. It is a big topic, and you need to understand what Medicare does and doesn't cover. And again, you need to have that plan to cover those expenses that are not covered by Medicare. And you need to assess your risk for long-term care issues and evaluate options for your coverages. Now it's no longer a couple $100 a day satisfies what needs to be done. This assistant living stuff is becoming expensive.
Oh, yeah. Very.
And seniors are getting there going, wow, I didn't plan on that happening. So we definitely need to get a handle on the Medicare. What does it cover? What is not covered? What are the supplements, Medicare supplements? A and B pretty much everybody's familiar with. But, drug cost is going through the roof. And then what happens on what Medicare don't cover? So those are things that's included in the GPS. So we just need to sit down, have a talk. Takes you about 45 minutes to an hour. Pick up the phone and give me a call, 888-557-1993. That's 888-557-1993. Folks, I'd love to sit down and talk to you. I'd love to have a conversation with you. It's complimentary, no pressure involved. I can care less if you even become a client or not. That's not what it's about. It's about helping you. It's about getting a plan together to make sure that you not only make it through the good times, but that you make it through the turbulent times. So pick up the phone and call me at 888-557-1993. And I look forward to talking to you guys, but you got to call me.
Yeah, absolutely. Really great points here today on Retire the Right Way. We've been discussing the final 10 years of working on this section of the show. Just make sure you understand how your needs are going to change, and that is part of also what the GPS will help you address. When you call that number and you get yourself on the calendar and you come in and have that consultation and you get started with Anthony Wright, help you understand how you're going to change over time. What happens the first 5 years in retirement, what happens in the next 5 years, and then the next 10 years. So there's a lot that goes into it. There's many things that are going to happen throughout the retirement planning process. Accumulating our wealth is one animal, but when we move to retirement, it's a totally different animal, and you certainly want to have a team on your side that can help you. And Anthony Wright and Retirement Specialty Group can do just that. 888-557-1993 is the number to call. That is 888-557-1993 to get started today. No cost, no obligation. You're listening to Retire the Right Way. We'll be back in a moment.
Hey folks, Miss Lita here. Are you tired of financial pitchmen who think the same square peg financial plan is the right fit for every retiree? Then do yourself a favor and call Anthony Wright at Retirement Specialty Group and see what it's like to work with an advisor with a plan and not a salesperson with a pitch. Call 888-557-1993 and experience the difference.
Have a question for Anthony? Just shoot us an email at info@retirementspecialtygroup.com. That's info@retirementspecialtygroup.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook at Retirement Specialty Group.
Well, we're coming down the home stretch here today on Retire the Right Way. Anthony Wright, Mark Killian here, discussing the worlds of finance and retirement. 888-557-1993 is the number to call. We say that so often throughout the show because it's important to just take action. And plus, we're catching people in and out of their car, in and out of church, in and out of the garden, in and out of going to the fast food place that you probably shouldn't be going. Just lots of different things. So make sure you go ahead and get that number down, get a call in, and get on the calendar. 888-557-1993. It's time for the mailbag, Anthony. Let's reach in and see what kind of mail we've got from around the area. If you'd like to submit a question to the show, go to retirementspecialtygroup.com. That is retirementspecialtygroup.com. Send an email at info@retirementspecialtygroup.com. And we got a question from Bess in Knoxville, and that's Bess, not Beth. Bess in Knoxville says, Anthony, my retirement accounts seem to have done pretty well the last couple of years. Well, I certainly hope so. But to be fair, I don't really know what they should be doing. How do I know if my money is doing what I need it to do? That's a good way of putting that.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, and I appreciate you emailing in, Bess. I always love emails coming in from the listeners. So, of course, the past 2 years, the investments have been good. I mean, as much as I would like to take credit for a lot of my clients doing well, I mean, you could be a financial advisor with zero experience and just throw it in the market over the past 2 years, and it would just be soaring, and you would think we were just fantastic.
Right.
The question should be really probably you're not really sure what it should be doing. Here's the thing. You've got to ask yourself, okay, you obviously know you've done good over the past 2 years. You've got to ask yourself, what happens, and can I handle a situation we wake up tomorrow and something has happened and now the market has come down 50% to 80%? Are you going to be chugging Maalox like like Coca-Cola? I mean, are you going to be chugging Maalox? Oh, dear God, I can't handle this, and I'm sick to my stomach and I'm queasy. So how do you know what your money, what it really should be doing? I would be asking the question, what is your risk analysis? Can you handle the ups and downs of the volatility of the market? Can you handle, what if you lose 50% of what's in there next week? Can you retire and live the lifestyle that you're currently living? So I would take a little more look, Bess, at your risk analysis and how you're set up, risk versus your safe. And I would look at that a little more than what type of return. And obviously, I don't know your age. You didn't give me your age. And so if you're 40, 45, that's going to be a little different than if you're 70 or 75.
Yeah.
So I would say look at your risk analysis. Let's know where you're at risk-wise versus how good of a return you're going to do.
Well, great question, Bess. We certainly appreciate it. We don't want to see you chucking Maalox, so make sure you give Anthony a call. At least come in for the free consultation. Get a second opinion on the plan or the strategy that you may already have in place. 888-557-1993. Certainly nothing wrong with getting a second set of eyeballs on that existing plan. 888-557-1993 to talk with Anthony Wright. And we appreciate it. We've got a question here from Larry in Knoxville. And Larry says he just heard a great presentation about investing in oil wells. And he's ready to jump in with both feet, and he wants to make sure he's not making a mistake. There's not a lot to go off on this, so I don't know how Anthony's going to be able to word this, but investing in oil wells, wants to know if it's a mistake. That's pretty vague.
It's pretty vague. I agree. And wow.
Yeah. I mean, I guess oil can, I don't know. Is oil even a good investment right now with the way it goes? It's been down. I mean, it's risen up a little bit because of the hurricanes, but over the last, year, it's been way down versus where it was 3 or so years ago, right?
Well, right. There's two trains of thought here. One is people say buy oil because it's down, it's low.
Okay, all right.
Buy it while it's cheap, right?
Right.
Buy it while it's down there low, and then it's going to come back. So that's one train of thought. I don't really know one way or the other if it's good or bad, but here's what I would say to Larry. I would say again, being properly diversified, I'm okay if you're following a plan and if you're working that plan, and we've got 5% over here that is speculative
money.
That
it accounts for that. Okay, that makes sense. Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So, maybe we got a little account over here, 5%. Whatever's in that 5%, we're going to speculate. If oil comes back and does really good, we're going to hit a home run. If I lose it all, it was only 5%. I knew it was speculative, and that's okay. I'm not going to go jump off a bridge. Right? So I would say let's follow the plan. Let's create a plan. Let's make sure within that plan that oil well is your speculative money, and good, bad, or indifferent, whatever it does, we don't really care because it's all a part of the plan. The biggest problem I see, Larry, is people get emotionally hyped up like that, and they have no plan to back up what they're doing, and they throw a lot of money in there, and then it doesn't work out, and they lose it. And then when they lose that money, then they're gloom, despair, and agony on me, and they're upset they did it. So back to the plan. Let's get a plan. Let's follow the plan. Let's put 5% in speculative bucket, and then let that speculative bucket be the one that invest in the oil wells. That makes sense, Mark?
That makes great sense, Anthony. And that's a lot of what the financial GPS can do, right? It's going to be able to take all these things into account: fees, Social Security, play money, if you will, speculative money, safety, liquidity, risk, all of that, right? So let's get us a financial GPS. And Anthony, I'll let you say the last time here how to make that happen and what it looks like.
What you want to do is you want to pick up the phone and you want to call me. That's step one. You got to do the phone calling. I can't force you to do it. All right, now obviously people do because we get a lot of phone calls every week. So pick up the phone and call me at 888-557-1993. Now, Mark, what I'm going to do, I'm going to throw in a little extra special since you're talking about, and we started the segment with, pilots and designing a plan and things like that. I wrote a brand new book. It's on Amazon.com, and it's called Financial GPS, and it talks about getting the plan. So what I'm going to do for the next 10 callers that call, and I'm doing this because we're right here at the end of the show. So the next 10 people that call me, starting now, when they come in and get their consultation and they sit down with me, I will give them a free copy of my book called Financial GPS. So pick up the phone for the next 10 people. Pick up the phone and call me, 888-557-1993. At the end of our consultation, I'm going to give you a free book. So you're going to get a free consultation. You're going to get an hour of my time I'm not going to charge you for. We're going to design a financial GPS I'm not going to charge you for. And now I'm going to throw in a free copy of my book. That you can't beat, my friend. So pick up the phone, call me at 888-557-1993, and I look forward to seeing you.
All right, retirees, pre-retirees, great offer from Anthony Wright as we close out the show. 888-557-1993 for your financial GPS, copy of the book, and a chance to talk about your specific situation. No cost, no obligation. 888-557-1993. You've been listening to Retire the Right Way. Anthony, Bud, thanks for being here as always. Great show. Really informative. I appreciate your time today.
Oh, thank you, Mark. I always love being on the air with you, man. We have a good time. Been doing it a long time.
That's right.
I enjoy it.
Yes, sir. Well, make sure you tune in each and every week for more wit and wisdom from Anthony and myself. I don't know if I'll call it wit and wisdom, but we'll call it that for now. And listen to Retire the Right Way each and every week. 888-557-1993 to get started today. 888-557-1993. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, investment, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action.